Hello everyone, my name is Theresa Allery and I'm a Director at Element Business and Accounting Solutions. I'm going to share my screen with you because I'll put a little presentation together for you for small business and sole traders to give you a bit of a snapshot of some of the government stimulus package opportunities available to you. So I'm hoping with this presentation that you'll come away with some really practical things you can do in your business right now to help you through the next few months, which I'm sure will be challenging for many. So I'm starting off here just to talk about, at a time in our world when there's so much uncertainty and, things don't seem to be within our control and there's a lot of misinformation out there, one of the most empowering things you can do for your business right now is to focus on the things within your control. So this paper is going to set out some practical things that you can do right now to help you get some certainty and clarity over your situation. So the very first thing I'd like to have a chat about is cash flow. So I'm sure your cash flow right now and over the coming months is going to look really different to what it might have looked like 2 months, 6 months or 12 months ago. So the very first thing I'd suggest that you do is put together a 13-week rolling cash flow. And so what I mean by that, record your estimated cash inflows and cash outflows over the next 13 weeks. The reason we picked 13 weeks is because 13 weeks gives you enough time to implement changes in the way you do your business to hopefully help smooth out that cash flow moving forward. So when you do the rolling cash flow, we've got a template on our website. You're welcome to download it at www.elementbusiness.com. So what this spreadsheet will do, you'll record your estimated inflows, so the income you think will come in. That will probably be a little bit hard, but just give it your best shot. And then record all your outgoing expenses over the next 13 weeks. This will help you identify what expenses you may not need anymore, and it'll help you identify some gaps. So for example, if in one particular week your cash flow is looking a bit short, what can you do to bring the cash forward or to defer expenses? So with income, so is there any income you can bring forward? Are there opportunities to create new income streams? With expenses, have a look at your expenses and look at what you think you can cut. When you think about what expenses you can cut, have a really good think about expenses that, help you keep or attract new clients or customers. They're the expenses you want to keep. So have a look at what expenses you can defer and have a look at what expenses you can renegotiate. So do you have credit card debt? Can you refinance to a better deal with your credit cards? Can you speak with your suppliers and get better terms to pay over a longer period of time? And also, what government stimulus package opportunities are available to you right now to help stop the gaps in your cash flow? The next opportunity I'd like to speak with you about is finance. So the very first one is the Australian Banking Association has made an announcement that all Australian banks will defer loan repayments for small business that have been affected by COVID-19 and the virus crisis for the next 6 months. So what I would recommend that you do is contact your bank and see what they can do for you. The next thing the government has announced is that they will provide a guarantee of 50% to small and medium enterprise lenders for unsecured loans to be used as working capital. So what I mean by working capital is loans to help you continue to pay wages or pay rent or pay operating expenses so that you can continue your business throughout the next few months. So the key loan terms with these guarantee-backed loans is you can loan money up to $250,000. They are generally a 3-year term with a 6-month repayment holiday. They do have interest, these loans. So a few of the banks, especially the major banks, have started rolling out these loans. You're looking at about 5.5% interest, and that will reduce after 6 months. So this scheme commences early April, but a lot of the banks already have applications open for these loans. The other loan, so if you've got a business in Queensland and you've been affected by COVID-19, and if you have employees, then you can also be eligible to get a Queensland government job support loan. These have much better terms than the SME guarantee scheme loans. So no repayments or interest in the first year. Then the next 2 years, it's interest only. And then over a 10-year period, it's a 2.5% fixed rate of interest. So much better terms, but also the eligibility criteria is a little bit smaller. So I would suggest, if you can, have a look at your finance and see what you can refinance or what you can change to help with your cash flow over the next few months. The next one, and I'll go through this a little bit quickly, is income support. So this is mainly with Centrelink and through MyGov. So the government has introduced a new coronavirus supplement. With the supplement, so anyone on eligible payments such as job seeker, youth allowance and parenting payments will get an additional coronavirus supplement of $550 per fortnight. It will apply over the next 6 months and it's not going to be income tested. What the government is also going to do is they're going to expand access to income support payments, especially to sole traders, self-employed, casual workers or contractors who meet the income test as a result of the downturn because of the coronavirus. So what I mean by that is if your income has decreased by at least 20%, then you may be eligible for some of these income support payments. The government is also going to reduce means testing. That means the asset test is being waived, but income testing does still apply. There will also be reduced waiting time so that you can start getting payment of these benefits sooner. The government is also offering additional payments. So the first one is a one-off crisis payment. This is equal to 1 week of your base income support payment, just in case you need to self-isolate or if you're caring for someone else who is self-isolating. The government has also, you would have heard on the media, announced first economic support payments of $750 for eligible recipients. This is going to be followed by a second $750 economic support payment, which will commence from the 13th of July 2020. So just to keep in mind, with the $750 payments, they do not apply to people who are already getting the coronavirus supplement of the $550 per fortnight. So the best way to apply for these kind of income support payments, if you think they apply to you, is to register via the MyGov website or call Centrelink directly. The next area I'd like to have a look at for you in terms of managing your cash flow is the ATO and tax debts. So the ATO is starting to roll out some very generous terms with respect to tax debts. So the ATO have advised that if your business is affected by coronavirus, they will look at deferring payments on income tax and fringe benefits tax debts for up to 6 months to the 12th of September 2020. So this will provide a lot of breathing room in terms of meeting your important expenses. For example, if you have to pay rent, or if you have to put food on the table, or if you've got employees. The ATO have also advised that they will stop ATO interest charges accruing on outstanding tax debts. And where you have an existing debt, you've got the opportunity to be able to renegotiate that debt on much lower interest terms with the tax office. A little bit of a tip, what we've noticed is when we speak with the ATO on behalf of our clients, the ATO are not necessarily forthcoming with these. You actually have to specifically request one of these more favourable payment arrangements on the basis that you or your business has been affected by the coronavirus. Some other measures that the ATO are offering: if you are paying quarterly income tax instalments through your BAS, so that is the income tax that you pay in advance, the ATO have advised that you can vary those instalments to nil without penalties. Just to note that this is only a deferral in tax. You still will need to pay the tax when you lodge your tax returns next year. You can also change your GST reporting cycle if you if you report GST from a quarterly to a monthly option. This will allow you to get refunds earlier. And the ATO have advised that they will process refunds within 14 days to get that cash back to you as soon as possible. The ATO will also look at remitting general interest charges on existing debts. So the ATO's interest rates are pretty high, they're around 10%. They will remit all those general interest charges on existing debts where those debts were incurred on or after the 23rd of January 2020. The ATO is also looking at deferring lodgement due dates for business activity statements and income tax returns, and we have seen them rolling out those deferred due dates in our practice already. The next measure is another government stimulus package measure, which is all about boosting cash flow for employers. So this is applicable to anyone who has employees. So what the government has announced is 2 tranches of payments. The first tranche is going to cover the period from January 2020 until June 2020. And what this is all about employers who pay PAYG withholding on wages. So if you pay PAYG withholding on wages, the government will provide a credit through your business activity statement of 100% of the PAYG withholding on wages up to a maximum of $50,000. So it is really important at this time to make sure that if you are an employer, that you lodge your business activity statements on time so that you can get access to those credits. The government is then also going to roll out a second tranche of these payments, and what they will be, you will get an additional payment equal to the total payments you received under the first tranche, and these will be paid out regularly over 4 months from July to October 2020. Now, one thing a number of my clients have asked is, I don't have employees now, but if I employ myself through my business, can I get access to this? The answer at the moment is no. So this only applies to employers that were already established and registered for PAYG withholding prior to the 12th of March 2020. The next measure I'd like to have a chat about is super and how super can help you through these times as well. So with superannuation, certain individuals can get early access to their super up to $10,000 before 1 July 2020 and then a further $10,000 after 1 July 2020. This is available from mid-April 2020 and applications can be made through MyGov. So some of the eligibility criteria for this: if you've become unemployed recently or stood down as a result of the coronavirus shutdowns, or if you're eligible to receive certain government payments, as I mentioned before, so job seeker, youth allowance and parenting payments. If on or after 1 January you've been made redundant, or your working hours have been reduced by 20% or more, or if you are a sole trader and business has suspended and as a result of that your income has taken a dive of 20% or more. In these cases, you will be eligible to access your super early, and that can potentially help you stop some of those gaps in the cash flow that I was speaking about earlier. The next measure I'd like to have a chat about is asset and business investment. Now, I have to say up front, I've been speaking to a number of my clients about this one, and it doesn't apply to everybody because of the uncertainty in the economy. Not everyone is willing to purchase new assets right now. But if you are looking at purchasing new assets, the government have announced some very, very generous tax concessions. So the first one is the instant asset write-off. So as a sole trader or a small business operator, the general rule is if you buy an asset under $30,000, you can get an instant tax deduction for that asset in the year that you've bought it and that you use it. That has now been increased to $150,000. So if you buy an asset up to $150,000 before the 30th of June 2020, you will get an instant tax deduction for that asset. Further, the government have announced through their stimulus package another incentive, which is called backing business investment. What this one is, this is available for businesses with turnover less than 500 mil. So very generous, and many, many businesses in Australia will be able to take advantage of this concession. So what this one is, if you buy an asset and there's no upper limit on the cost of the asset. So you could buy an asset, let's say, for $1 million. If you buy an asset for $1 million after 30 June 2020, you will get an instant asset write-off for 50% of the cost. So that means in the year that you buy that $1 million asset, you will get $500,000 back as a tax deduction, and the remaining balance of $500,000 will be depreciated over time using the normal rules. So this one is very, very generous. But like I said, not for everyone at the moment. So I'm hoping that this presentation was able to give you some practical tips and some things that you can do in your business right now. In summary, it's really important that you start off with your cash flow so that you know exactly where you stand. Be brutally honest, and just have a look at where the gaps are so that you can start planning forward and working out lots of different strategies about how you can move through the next few months. I've had to put a bit of small print up here. So the general disclaimer is that the advice that I've spoken about in this presentation is my views and my opinions, and it is very general in nature. So I would strongly recommend that you seek financial assistance from your accountant or financial planner in regards to some of the strategies that I've mentioned here and how they might apply for your business. If you'd like to have more information, we do have a blog on our website that we update very regularly at elementbusiness.com. And thank you all for tuning in and listening. Take care, everyone. Bye.